Exactly, it's going to be a little bit longer, so my apologies for that. But I just want to share a story with you, and it's going to take just a little bit to read it. So, here we go. Once upon a time, CIRA Ontario was born. Once upon a time, well actually in 1969, 49 years ago, next year is 50, a living being was born into this world in the same place we stand today, Geneva Park. Her name was Aura. Actually, her full name was Ontario Intramural Recreation Association, but we called her Aura for short. She was birthed when some Ontario post-secondary intramural folks wanted to support each other in their work. Raising a child is not easy, and people like Gene Kennedy, Brian Pressman, Dave Schley, John Cataract, Fred Wanamaker, Sue Walker, and many others nurtured her. A company called Labatt's Ontario Breweries, interested in the fun activity of university students, provided funds to nurture this infant along. In 1989, Aura officially joined a national family under the umbrella of CIRA. Actually, CIRA's full name was Canadian Intramural Recreation Association, but we called this family CIRA for short. So Aura officially became CIRA Ontario. The government liked this child and paid for its nurturing. Some nominal dues from CIRA Ontario members helped support CIRA Ontario, and Michelle Harkness was hired in 1991 to provide administrative support to CIRA Ontario. She gave great service for a little over a decade, and she's succumbed to an untimely death from cancer this past fall, and we all mourn her loss. In fact, I'll go there for a minute. She went to visit her dad one day, mom and dad, and her dad, who has dementia, said, that lady over there is kind of tired. That was her daughter, his daughter Michelle. And so Michelle, they went back, she went to the hospital. They said she'll be fine, and they did some testing. And a day later, without Casey and Glenn being able to say goodbye, she went into a coma, and 2 days later she died. And as it turns out, her lungs were like 80% full of cancer, and she never knew it. But she was an important, certainly a significant part, and we have an award named after her as well. In the early 90s, the Ontario government started running out of money. So stopped funding CIRA Ontario. At a meeting in May of 1995 in Waterloo, a few people met to consider CIRA Ontario's meager bank account. I think it was like $200 or something. The lack of support from the government or any other businesses and consideration was given to fold the organization or to plan a new direction. Perhaps CIRA would succumb to an untimely death as an infant. But under the inspired leadership of Pat Doyle, CIRA Ontario began a new direction. The new direction was to write a resource and sell it and make money to keep CIRA Ontario alive. The first book was Active Playgrounds, which is still a bestseller for CIRA Ontario. And sales from this book and soon other books helped equip people in the field and also gave CIRA Ontario some monies to do its important work and keep it alive. A Trillium grant was received in 2002 to fund the promotion of active playgrounds, and in 2004 the company Nestle Canada came aboard and supported the active playgrounds work as well. Pat and Michelle were hired to implement the activities around the active playgrounds grant. The government further tightened its finances and stopped funding CIRA, that's the national group, as well. So CIRA existed for a couple more years. Her death was imminent, and so she died, giving her inheritance to the Canadian Association for Physical Health, Education, Recreation, and Dance. We called her CAPER for short, and she later changed her name to PHE Canada. With CIRA's death, most of her provincial children died with her. The lone exception was CIRA Ontario, who, with its new way of doing business, was still alive and kicking and having fun. Although the active playgrounds Trillium monies focused on Ontario, the Nestle monies helped CIRA Ontario fill a void across Canada with the death of CIRA. CIRA Ontario has survived infancy and was now moving on into adolescence. Pat stepped down as president in 2002, and John Byl took over to help this adolescent child live and grow. It takes a village, though, to bring up a child, and CIRA Ontario is not a one-person show. I'd love to talk about the unique and powerful contributions of each of the past and current board members, but permit me to say a couple words about two. Two of the board members that have been on as long or longer than I have. Just a minute.
Got this.
Just a minute. Okay, Wig. Wig Baldoff has always been ready to lead a workshop. We sometimes joke that if he was asked to lead 3 workshops at a conference, he'd do the exact same games but flip the order. Sure, Wig had his go-to games, and he's going to do a workshop on his favorite games, but he had a lot of them, and people loved his engaging workshops. One of Wig's stories that I often use, and has worked through its way in CIRA Ontario, is the story of Goldilocks. You know how she goes to Granny's house and she sees 3 bowls of porridge, one is too hot, one is too cold, and one is just perfect. Goldilocks only eats 1 bowl of porridge, but if she would have cooled down the hot one and heated up the cold one, she could have had 3 bowls of porridge. The same can be said for games. Just ideas, as Wig says. Games can all be heated up and they can all be cooled down. So if you go to a CIRA Ontario workshop, as you will tomorrow, and the leader goes for 12 games, you need to leave with 36 games. Because the next time you see young people, you can heat them up and you can cool them down. And I think often elementary school teachers get that. High school teachers have a harder time with that. But anyways, Goldilocks is the main reason we don't have age descriptions for most of the CIRA Ontario games in books. Andy Wraithby joined CIRA Ontario the same year as I did. Actually, they both applied to join the CIRA Ontario board family earlier, but neither of us were elected. So we applied again, and we got on that second time. Andy and I have often been confused at workshops with each other. Andy does great workshops, has a great knack for seeing needs in the educational and recreational communities, and his books have been carefully crafted and have sold well. His book, World's Best Dodgeball Games, is one of CIRA Ontario's all-time top 3 sellers, and it's done really super. One other person who's made a significant contribution to CIRA Ontario and is not here is Marie Burland. It was following a CIRA Ontario conference in 2004 that she called me and said she wanted to help CIRA Ontario produce a book on dance and in-classroom activities. I first said no because we were busy with a couple other resources at the time. A week or 2 later, she called again and persisted, so this time I agreed. I encouraged her to get 3 people, and I would get 3 people, and we would gather together to write this resource. So Marie is here. No, Marie's not here, sorry. Kirsten is here. And come on. Mel's here. I think those are the only 2 that are, I think, part of that project and myself. So yeah, they're over there. This eventual resource, Everybody Move, came out in 2005, the same time that the government announced the daily physical activity. So with the DVD and the CD, it was a really complex resource for us as a small organization. And the Ministry of Culture and Recreation recognized the importance of this resource and helped pay for CIRA Ontario to roll out this resource, and a couple of years later helped us to roll it out in French as well. In 2010, Human Kinetics took it over and added polish to the resource, and they're now the caregivers of Everybody Move. Now, 13 years later, we've just launched a book on DPA the CIRA Way, written by Chris Wilson, at a time when the Ontario government is again giving revived importance to DPA. CIRA Ontario moved out of its childhood house to live in its own house in 2010. CIRA Ontario has been living in the Ancaster location since. In 2009, Anna Bishop, our current office administrator, joined CIRA Ontario to positively help CIRA Ontario interactions with other people. She's positive, and when a conference attendee asked her about the quality of the mattresses at Geneva Park, she simply replied, "We have never had a complaint." She did want to say some other things. I suggested to her that she could have said, "After the wine and beer social, nobody really cares." To another person who asked if his unknown rooming partner snored or not. I believe she replied she wasn't sure if he did or didn't. This person changed to a single room. And perhaps we need to add snoring or no snoring to our registration form for those buying a shared room. There we go. One other crafty person noticed on the conference page that people can apply for 5 people and pay for 4. So he wondered if 4 people from his board who were coming had already applied, so he could come for free. She replied professionally, well, maybe the 5 people should have all read the website earlier. To lots of inquiries, she could say a lot of different things, but she stays professional and positive and is totally committed to the cause of CIRA Ontario. And please email her sometime. Shoot. Yeah, just do it. Just a sec.
This is why you told me not to time it, so just
That's right.
you take it.
Let's see, where am I? It does take money to feed a person, and CIRA Ontario is no different. Active playgrounds, world's greatest dodgeballs, and everybody moves have been important life supports for CIRA Ontario. CIRA Ontario is not interested in a sprint to the finish or a short life. CIRA Ontario is already 49 years old. I've been thinking about CIRA Ontario as a marathon runner. Marathons are often run with thousands of others with feeding stations along the way. And so such things as membership fees, government grants, corporate support, and resource sales help keep CIRA Ontario alive and running. But marathon running takes a long time. And we tend to run with people of a similar pace. Sometimes they go a little faster, sometimes a little slower, but we all encourage each other to enjoy and to continue. CIRA Ontario board members surrounds CIRA Ontario and help her to continue to run the good race. People who come to the CIRA Ontario conferences help her run a good race. And that's you guys. Thank you for your support. And then there's fellow runners who help us get there as well, often with a shared purpose. Again, it takes a village to bring up a child or a team to help people run a marathon well. I'd love to talk about the unique and powerful contributions of each of the fellow runners, but permit me to say just a couple of words about 8 of these runners. First of all, Apple and the Scoreboard Man, Rick Ramsey and Paul Vescu. There we go. They've always been there for CIRA Ontario. Their wine and cheese, but especially their friendship, has always been appreciated by CIRA Ontario. Ophia, a close relative to CIRA Ontario, has not only been a close relative, but a close friend, and we hope to increase that relationship. We hope this relationship is nurtured for many years to come. Michelle, with Groove Education, and Amy with Moving Education, share so much with what CIRA Ontario is about. And giving birth to Teaching Groove for Understanding is a demonstration of how we are kindred spirits. Thank you. Thompson Publishing, through Ted Tamorzoglu, has promoted his love for children's fitness through incorporating CIRA Ontario's spirited activities. And Go for Sport has come alongside us and given us equipment for CIRA Ontario to better run her race. And more recently, we call it a marriage of sorts with the WASPy, as we call her for short, and CIRA Ontario. And that's been a great marriage the last 5 years now, I think. So that's been really wonderful too. Pat Doyle once said, the bottom line for CIRA Ontario is always the kids. He's correct. Helping CIRA Ontario promote fun, active participation for all is an important goal to keep striving for. I've loved helping CIRA Ontario for the last 22 years, but I'm getting tired. It's good for others who are younger, have more energy, have more great ideas, to take more of a lead role. I'm not going far though. I will stand on the sidelines of the marathon, and I will always cheer for CIRA Ontario. Thank you.